Chapter 10, Summary, Animal Rescue and a Trip to the Lotus Casino. If Percy had to rate their ride so far, he'd give it a solid 0 out of 10 stars. Not because of the animals, no, but because of how the animals were treated. He was angry with the situation and felt increasingly helpless as to what he could do about it. Someone had thrown the lion in a sack of turnips, which he obviously didn't want to eat. The zebra and the antelope had each gotten a styrofoam tray of hamburger meat. The zebra's mane was matted with chewing gum, like someone had been spitting on it in their spare time. The antelope had a stupid silver birthday balloon tied to one of its horns. Nobody had gotten close enough to the lion to mess with him, but the poor thing was pacing around on soiled blankets, in a space way too small for him, panting from the stuffy heat of the trailer. He had flies buzzing around his pink eyes, and his ribs showed through his white fur. "This is kindness?" Grover yelled. "Humane zoo transportation?" He probably would have gone right back outside to beat up the truckers with his reed pipes. But the truck's engines roared to life. The trailer started shaking, and they were forced to sit down or fall down. But they couldn't just do nothing. Percy found a water jug and refilled their bowls, then used his sword to drag the mismatched foods out of their cages and to the right animals. The meat for the lion, the turnips for the antelope and zebra. Grover managed to get the antelope to calm down, while Annabeth used her knife to cut the balloon from his horn. "When we stop in Las Vegas, we'll set them free," Percy said. "I still have my credit card. We'll find another way to LA. They sat in silence, curled up on the turnip bag next to each other. "Hey," Annabeth said, "I'm sorry for freaking out back at the water park, Percy." "It's okay. It's just," she stuttered, "spiders." "You mentioned that," he hummed. "Is it because of the spider story? She got turned into a spider for challenging your mom to a weaving contest, right?" Annabeth nodded. "Her children have been taking revenge on the children of Athena ever since. If there's a spider within a mile of me, it'll find me. I hate the creepy little things. Anyway, I owe you. We're a team, remember?" They were quiet for a moment. "Hey, Grover, you mentioned it a while back, but what did you mean about the searcher's license? You're trying to find Pan?" Annabeth shifted closer to listen. Grover turned to face them, still resting on the sack he'd chosen. "Yeah," he said softly. "Pan, the god of the wild, shepherds, and flocks, he's our patron. 2,000 years ago, a sailor cried out that he was dead. To spread the word, the great god Pan is dead. But we haven't given up hope. We've been searching for him ever since. And I want to do that. I want to try and find him, which means getting my searcher's license." "I think you'll be the one to do it," Percy said confidently. "Pan, he's Hermes' son, isn't he? Has anyone ever tried asking Hermes himself?" Grover's eyes lit up. "No," he said, "but that's a great idea. We can try to reach out to him when we get back. Hermes is one of the, nicer ones," Percy finished dryly. Annabeth started splitting up the Oreos. She passed one to him. "In the Iris message, did Luke really say nothing?" she asked. Percy munched on his cookies and thought how to answer. He said that you and he go way back. He also said Grover wouldn't fail this time. Nobody would turn into a pine tree." Annabeth looked elsewhere, and Grover let out a mournful bray. "I should have told you the truth from the beginning." His voice trembled. "I thought if you knew what a failure was, you wouldn't want me along. You were the stray who tried to rescue Thalia. Percy said softly. In the corner, he could see her blue eyes looking at them, looking at him. And the other 2 half-bloods Thalia befriended, the ones who got safely to camp, he looked at Annabeth. That was you and Luke, wasn't it? She put down her Oreos, uneaten. A 7-year-old half-blood wouldn't have made it very far alone. Athena guided me towards help. Thalia was 12. Luke was 14. They'd both run away from home, like me. They were happy to take me with them. They were amazing monster fighters, even without training. We traveled north from Virginia without any real plans, fending off monsters for about 2 weeks before Grover found us. I was supposed to escort Thalia to camp, he said, sniffing. Only Thalia. I had strict orders from Chiron. Don't do anything that would slow down the rescue. We knew Hades was after her, see, but I couldn't just leave Luke and Annabeth by themselves. I thought I could lead all 3 of them to safety. It was my fault the kindly ones caught up with us. I froze. I got scared on the way back to camp and took some wrong turns. If I'd just been a little quicker. Stop it, Annabeth said. No one blames you. Thalia wouldn't blame you either. She sacrificed herself to save us, he said miserably. Her death was my fault. The Council of Cloven Elders said so. No, Percy interrupted, sitting up. In the corner, the girl's eyes flashed in agreement. That wasn't fair of them to say that to you. You saved 2 other people, 2 other children's lives. Thalia made her choice. She chose to make her stand. Percy's right, Annabeth said. I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for you, Grover. Neither would Luke. We don't care what the council says. Grover kept sniffling in the dark. It's just my luck. I'm the lamest strider ever, and I find the 2 most powerful half-bloods of the century, Thalia and Percy. You're not lame, Annabeth insisted. You've got more courage than any strayer I have ever met. Name one other who would dare go to the underworld. We're really glad you're here right now. Yeah, Percy piped up. It's not luck that you found Thalia and me, Grover. You've got the biggest heart of any strayer out there. You're a natural searcher. That's why you'll be the one who finds Pan. Percy thought Grover would try to argue further, but all he heard was his friend's breathing growing heavier. It turned into a snore. How does he do that? Percy marveled, looking over to catch sight of his sleeping friend's face to make sure. I don't know, Annabeth snorted, but that was a really nice thing you told him. I meant it. They rode in silence for a few miles. Percy would have fallen asleep had he not heard the slight knocking of beads against one another. Annabeth rubbed her necklace together, in deep thought. That pine tree bead, he murmured. Is that from your first year? She looked down, a flash of surprise on her face. Yeah, she said. Every August, the counselors pick the most important event of the summer, and they paint it on that year's beads. I've got Thalia's pine tree, a Greek trireme, on fire, a centaur in a prom dress. Now that was a weird summer. And the college ring, your father's? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. No, it's okay. She took a shaky breath. My dad sent it to me, folded up in a letter 2 summers ago. The ring was like his main keepsake from Athena. He wouldn't have gotten through his doctoral program at Harvard without her. That's a long story. Anyway, he said he wanted me to have it. He apologized for being a jerk, said he loved me and missed me. He wanted me to come home and live with him. And you tried? Yeah, I did. I believed him, and that was my mistake, she sighed. I tried to go home for that school year, but my stepmom was the same as ever. She didn't want her kids put in danger by living with a freak. Monsters attacked. We argued. I didn't even make it through the winter break. I called Chiron and came right back to Camp Half-Blood. He didn't even try to stop me. I'm sorry, Percy said. You don't deserve to be treated like that, especially not by your parents. Your mom, Annabeth started. She's the best, he smiled. I've never thought she was dead, he admitted. Like the jerk said, maybe when this is all over, you can visit. Try some of her cookies. Her lips twitched. The blue ones? She asked. Blue chocolate chip, he grinned, and they were quiet. One last thing. If the gods fight, he said, will things line up like the Trojan War? Will all the gods take sides? Except this time your mom versus my dad? She put her head against the pack Ares had given them and closed her eyes. I don't know what my mom will do. I just know I'll fight next to you. Why? Because you're my friend, Seaweed Brain. Any more stupid questions? He grinned, but didn't answer. They fell asleep soon after. In his nightmares, he saw Thalia. She stared at him, struggling in her straitjacket. Come on, Seaweed Brain, she snapped. One of us has to get out of here. Yes, he agreed. The floor opened up and swallowed him. Except he didn't wake up. He found himself in a dark, cold cavern, with spirits from the dead drifting around him. Percy Jackson. A dark and cold voice said. The voice from earlier, the one he knew crept around his dreams. Yes, the exchange went well, I see. It wasn't speaking to him. And he suspects nothing, it asks. Another, more familiar voice spoke, making Percy's stomach twist. Nothing, my lord. He is as ignorant as the rest. Deception upon deception. The thing in the pit mused aloud. Excellent. Truly, my lord, said the familiar voice, you are well named the Crooked One. But was it really necessary? I could have brought you what I stole directly. You, the monster said in scorn, you have already shown your limits. You would have failed me completely had I not intervened. But, my lord... Peace, little servant. Our 6 months have brought us much. Zeus's anger has grown. Poseidon has played his most desperate card. Now we shall use it against him. Surely you shall have the reward you wish, and your revenge. And soon, as both items are delivered into my hands. But wait, he's here. What? The invisible servant shouted, tense. You summoned him, my lord? No, the full force of the monster's attention twisted to Percy. Blast his father's blood. He is too changeable, too unpredictable. The boy brought himself hither. And now that boy will see himself out. Percy reached for his core, diving into the waves, the sea, down, down, to the depths of his father. Boy. He reached for a stream and pulled, and he woke up. Grover was shaking his shoulder. The truck stopped, he said. We think they're coming to check on the animals. Hide, Annabeth hissed and put on her cap. Grover and Percy moved underneath the turnip feed sacks in the corner. The trailer doors creaked open. Sunlight and heat poured in. Man, one of the truckers said, weaving his hand in front of his ugly nose. I wish I had hauled appliances. He climbed inside and poured some water from a jug into the animals' dishes. You hot, big guy? He asked the lion, then splashed the rest of the bucket right in the lion's face. The lion roared in indignation. Percy gritted his teeth. Grover and him clung to each other to ensure they didn't do something they would regret. Yeah, the man said carelessly. He threw the antelope a squash-looking Happy Meal bag. Then he smirked meanly at the zebra. How are you doing, Stripes? At least we'll be getting rid of you this stop. You like magic shows? You're gonna love this one. They're gonna saw you in half. The zebra, wide-eyed in fear, looked straight at Percy. Free me, Lord, please. Percy tensed, eyes wide. He hadn't even considered a zebra could count as a horse. The trucker inside was lured out by knocking. Annabeth sneaking back in. This transport can't be legal. No kidding, Grover said. He paused, tensing. The lion says these guys are animal smugglers. That's right, the zebra says. Please. It wasn't even a choice. Percy pulled out Riptide and slashed the lock off the zebra's cage, nodding to the others. The zebra burst out. It turned and bowed. Thank you, Lord. Grover held up his hand and said something to the zebra, like a blessing. The zebra leapt out over the truckers and took off down the wide boulevard, further drawing the truckers' attention. Now would be a good time to go, Annabeth said. Quick, Grover ushered. The other animals. Percy cut the locks, and Grover blessed the antelope and the lion. They burst out of their cages and went off together into the streets. The children stumbled out into the desert afternoon, putting some distance between them, the crowd and the truck. Thankfully, everyone was too interested in the wild animals to pay them much attention. They made their way down the strip, coming to a sudden stop in front of the Lotus Hotel and Casino. The entrance was a huge neon flower, the petals lighting up and opening. No one was going in or out, but the glittering chrome doors were open, spilling out air conditioning that smelled like sticky flowers. This place feels weird, Percy muttered. Smells too. But it's out of the heat, Annabeth said, staring longingly at the doors. I bet there's water and food in there. Percy winced. He rubbed his side and nodded in agreement. Okay, he said, but we stay together. Seriously, this place is off. Annabeth looked more serious after that, and even Grover stuck close as they made their way in. They were immediately accosted by the doorman. Hey kids, you looking tired? You want to come in and sit down? They all eyed him suspiciously, but followed him in. Whoa, Grover said. The whole lobby was a giant game room. There was an indoor water slide snaking around the glass elevator, which went straight up at least 40 floors. There was a climbing wall on the side of the building, and an indoor bungee jumping bridge. There were virtual reality suits with working laser guns, and hundreds of video games, each one the size of a widescreen TV. Hey, the bellhop said, welcome to the Lotus Casino. Here's your room key. We haven't paid yet, Percy said, hands gripping Annabeth and Grover's when they tried to tug away. No, he said, laughing. The bill's taken care of. No extra charge, no tips. Just go on up to the top floor, room 4001. If you need anything, like extra bubbles for the hot tub or skeet targets for the shooting range, or whatever, just call the front desk. Here's your Lotus cash card. They work in the restaurants and on all the games and rides. He handed them each a green plastic credit card and walked off without answering any of their other questions. They took the elevator up and checked out the room. It was a suite with 3 separate bedrooms and a bar stocked with candy, sodas, and chips. The hotline 2 room services, fluffy towels and water beds with feather pillows, a big screen television with satellite and high-speed internet. The balcony had its own hot tub. The view over the strip and the desert was amazing. Oh, goodness, Annabeth said. This place is sweet, Grover said. Absolutely sweet. Weird, Percy interjected. Let's shower, rest, and get out of here. Grover sighed, but Annabeth seemed to shake herself out of whatever trance she'd fallen into. Right, she said. Do you want to take a shower first? You go first, he assured. I'll probably take a while. She nodded and first went through the clothes in the closet. He could hear her muttering in surprise at how they were her size. Definitely weird. After they had gotten all cleaned and changed, and Percy had pulled back on his sweater, they tucked themselves in for some rest. Percy grumbled about the weird, unhelpful water until he was asleep. When Percy woke up, Grover and Annabeth were gone. A little note on the table had said they had gone exploring. He cursed, pulling his and their stuff together and setting out to search. No, 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 he murmured, running through the hotel. Come on, this is all wrong. It's all oof. He ran straight into a little boy, sending them both crashing to the ground. Ow, the little boy groaned. Percy hissed in agreement, pushing himself back up. The smell of pomegranates and old water hit his nose, causing him to jolt. Are you okay? He asked the boy. I'm sorry about that. I wasn't watching where I was going. No, the little boy said. I wasn't watching either. You... They locked eyes. The earth of a freshly dug grave. The rattle of bones. Into the gentle blue of waves reaching up the beach. You seem familiar. The boy finished, his eyebrows furrowed. He blinked like there was something stuck in his eyes. No, yeah, so do you. Nico, a female voice called. Nico, where did you go? The boy, Nico said, that's my sister. Yeah, Percy said dumbly. He shook himself, pulling himself to his feet and helping the boy up. Yeah, of course. I'm Percy, by the way. Nico, he said. Goodbye. Percy watched him go. Yeah, bye then. Oh, wait! But the boy was already gone. Percy gathered up the cards the boy had forgotten. Mythomagic cards he recognized from when he and Grover would play. He pocketed them, promising to get them back to their owner one day. He found Annabeth soon after, practically crashing into her. There you are, he exclaimed. Come on, wise girl. We have to get out of here. It took a bit of convincing, but she eventually agreed. They followed where Percy's nose led him. Annabeth managed to knock Grover out of it, but before they could leave... Wait, Percy murmured, stopping dead in his tracks. That's strawberries. Annabeth and Grover looked at each other, but followed him to the far side of the lobby. Over there, the games turned more into slot machines and betting tables. Just as they were almost stopped by a staff member, a voice called out to let them through. That's... Annabeth breathed. Oh, maybe he can help us to the underworld. On you lead, Percy murmured as they approached the table. Hey, Hermes greeted, a bright smile pulled across his face. What do we have here? Demigods? He was average height for a man, wearing a beige hoodie with his sleeves pulled up and some dark-colored pants. His hair was dark and slicked back, and he had almost warm brown eyes. He looked out of place, if Percy was being honest, like a guy who had stepped away from work for a short moment. Not entirely what Percy was expecting, but considering Dionysius looked like a cherub who lost their job and ended up in a trailer park, and Ares looked like he was the leader of both an underground fight club and a biker game, he knew he shouldn't be surprised. Heck, from the small glimpses he had gotten, his own father looked like he stumbled off a beach resort, an ugly tourist shirt, Bricken shorts, and a margarita glass in hand included. And that's if he didn't decide to dress like a dad going fishing. Hermes didn't have a laurel wreath like the others. Instead, a golden cap etched with his symbol seemed to flicker into place on his head. Small white rings on both sides. Small white wings on both sides. Percy watched them flutter before focusing back in, jolting when he realized the god had seen his eyes stray. Hermes' smile somehow grew wider. So my siblings were right, he said. How fascinating. Sit. You kids know how to play craps? Look, we don't really have a lot of time to play, Annabeth said. We need your help to... I know what you need my help with, Hermes shuffled the cards. You want my help to sneak into the underworld. You're a really good guesser, Grover mused. Hermes snorted. I exist beyond space and time, kid. Why do you think they put me in charge of delivering the mail? Look, You're not the first demigod to ask, and trust me, you won't be the first demigod to walk away disappointed. So you might as well at least play a little. We're friends of Luke, Percy blurted out, and Hermes froze. He set the cards down, sighing. Yeah, okay, he seemed to mutter. Time and space are easy, kids. Parenting is something else entirely. Can I get you anything? Soda, chips? He trailed off, looking over Percy, eyes narrowing, and added, Water? Lotus free? Percy asked, and eyebrows raised. The corner of Hermes' lips twitched. The goddess snapped his finger, and a few different drinks and snacks appeared on the table, smelling lotus magic-free. Percy snatched the water bottle. Hermes chuckled before all amusement wiped from his face, and he turned to Annabeth. I remember you, he said. You were there last time I saw Luke. Yes, Annabeth confirmed. I saw you argue. I heard what he said. That what happened to his mom was your fault. That it was all your fault. That he hated you. Help us get to the underworld. Help us complete our quest, and he'll see that you care. Percy ducked to his head, slowly sipping on his water, eyes going from demigod to god. There is a way into the underworld, a secret way. I've helped others find it before, and do you know what happened every time? I mean, every single time? You don't want my help, trust me, Hermes said. His eyes were almost black. The wings on his cap fluttered in agitation, causing it to shift. Percy could almost make out curled black horns, like that of a ram before the hat laid down again. He wondered if that was a trait of all of Zeus's godly children. No, we actually kind of do. They stared each other down. I was warned to stay away from Luke and his mother, Hermes said lowly. Warned that no matter how much I tried to help, I would just make things worse. And I went anyway. And it wasn't just awful for Luke. It was awful for all of us. Do you know what that felt like? To be so close to someone you love, knowing neither of you has any choice but to keep hurting each other? I know you do. Are you going to help us or not? The god sat back. Percy knew what he was going to say before he even said it. I don't get involved anymore. It's just not worth it. I'm sorry. Percy pushed away from the table, shaking his head when Annabeth opened her mouth. She looked at him, but he nodded his head to the door. She sighed, but took Rover's hand and dragged him from the table. One last thing, Percy said, and looked up into brown eyes, keeping his own wide and relaxed. Hermes stiffened. Can I ask a question? You just did. Percy looked at him, unimpressed. I'm sorry if this drags up further bad memories, but my friend Grover is trying to find Pan. I know he's your son, so I wondered. Hermes' face fell. Oh, Percy winced. I'm sorry, he apologized. I shouldn't have asked. Of course, if he knew where he was, he wouldn't be considered missing. Hermes stared at the table, and Percy stared at him, before he shuffled for his bag and dug around in it. Here, he offered, holding out a beaded bracelet. Brown Eyes looked at it in question. I meant to sacrifice this to you as a thanks for letting me stay in your cabin while I was unclaimed, but didn't get the chance before we had to leave, Percy explained. You don't have to accept it, of course. The god stuck out his wrist. Percy blinked before grinning. He tied the bracelet around the god's wrist, explaining how he had included a tiny strawberry charm because he knew he liked them. And next to it was a tiny snake charm for his caduceus. They were framed by gold, brown, and dark blue, a softer blue, and white beads. Money, maps, travel, mail, and wings, he said, tapping each in succession. When he looked up after ensuring it was secure, Hermes was looking at him with a soft expression. Eyes almost gentle, and smile undescribably genuine. It looked like an expression he hadn't made in a long time. Get out of here, kid. You're doing just fine without me. Somehow, Percy almost believed him. He caught up to his friends, they ran out of the hotel, and no one tried to stop them. Strawberries trailing them the whole way.